So you seem to enjoy the first video I made about the top 10 Oscar reaction losing faces. It's fun, right? To go back and look at all of those reactions, all of those memorable expressions throughout the decades at the Oscars. And you know what? There's a lot more to talk about. There are so many more to explore and definitely to make a second top 10 list. So here it is, more top 10 Oscar losing reactions. Let's start with number 10, Queen Latifah.
The Oscar goes to Catherine.
So in this follow-up video, I'm going to pay a little more attention to enthusiastic losing reactions. Like not the polite clap, not the annoyed grimace or whatever. Like sometimes people who lose at the Oscars get very excited, and that was definitely the case for Queen Latifah in early 2003 when she was in the Best Supporting Actress category alongside her Chicago co-star Catherine Zeta-Jones. Except for Golden Globes, Catherine Zeta-Jones won pretty much everywhere for Chicago, and she was easily the frontrunner to take the gold trophy. There wasn't much suspense, I would say, and so Latifah had to be waiting for Zeta-Jones to take that one. So when Sean Connery says Catherine, if you look closely, Queen Latifah shouts, "Yes!" and pumps her fist, turns around, looks at Catherine Zeta-Jones. It doesn't appear fake to me. Like, this doesn't look like oh, you know what, I'm gonna put on a show here. It looks like Queen Latifah is genuinely happy for Catherine Zeta-Jones, and so yes, this is a fantastic Oscar-losing reaction. Number 9, Sam Mendes.
Bong Joon-ho!
In early 2020, Sam Mendes was the clear frontrunner, I would argue, to win the Best Director Oscar for 1917. He basically swept everywhere that season in the directing category. He won at Golden Globes, he won at BAFTA, he won at DGA, and it's such an impressive achievement, 1917, from a cinematography level, from a directorial level. It made sense that 1917 was going to win in those two categories at the Oscars. It did take cinematography for Roger Deakins, but then when we got to Best Director, there was a big surprise in store. Spike Lee presented the category that night, and he didn't say Sam Mendes after he opened the envelope. He said Bong Joon-ho for Parasite, and if you look at Mendes, he does give this kind of shrug of like oh, okay, all right, polite clapping. He doesn't look especially angry or sad or anything, but he does appear to be surprised in those seconds following the announcement that Bong Joon-ho had won Best Director for Parasite. Number 8, Jessica Lange.
And the winner is Sally Field in Places in the Heart.
So I included Jessica Lange in the first video when she reacted in a very funny way to Geraldine Page winning the Oscar for Best Actress, but there's one more Oscar-losing reaction from Lange I find to be so hysterical. It was in early 1985 when Sally Field wins her second Best Actress trophy for Places in the Heart. Lange was nominated in the category for a film called Country. I don't think she had much of a shot to win there. So I don't know if her reaction here is anger or just boredom maybe, but when it's announced that Sally Field is the winner, Lange does this like death stare over her shoulder toward Field that I just think is so funny. It's not an expression of enthusiasm or anything. It's like, oh, she won? Okay, that's a choice, Academy. Number 7, Michael Keaton.
Okie dokie, Smokey. The Oscar goes to Eddie Redmayne!
Now this losing reaction isn't memorable right after Cate Blanchett calls the Best Actor winner as Eddie Redmayne for Theory of Everything. Keaton's happy, he claps along with everyone else. I mean, Michael Keaton was definitely in second place that year for Best Actor. He had won at the Golden Globes for Birdman. His movie won Best Picture and Best Director at the Oscars, so Keaton was probably close to a victory for Best Actor. And you know what? He came prepared, because when it cuts to the wide shot and Eddie Redmayne is coming up onto the stage, if you zoom in really closely and slow-mo the footage, you can see Michael Keaton putting away his Oscar acceptance speech. Like, you see the paper in his hand and he puts it away. I don't know if we've ever seen that happen before or since. Like, one of the losers in the audience actually putting away their acceptance speech. It's kind of sad when you think about it, but certainly very memorable. Number 6, Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Rylance, Bridge of Spies.
So speaking of Michael Keaton, a year later, he is in the movie Spotlight, which wins the Oscar for Best Picture, and one of his co-stars, Mark Ruffalo, gets into Best Supporting Actor. I would say he was in contention that year to win, but the frontrunners seemed to be either Sylvester Stallone for Creed or Mark Rylance for Bridge of Spies. Most people, I think, were predicting Sylvester Stallone was going to take it. It would have been an amazing moment, but then Patricia Arquette says Mark Rylance, and because I think that name is so close to Mark Ruffalo, like it starts with Mark Ra, and so if you look closely at Ruffalo, he has this moment of like, is she saying my no, it's the other guy. After that delayed reaction, he has this expression of sheer joy, and I think it's pretty clear it's because he thought Patricia Arquette was calling his name, not Mark Rylance's. Number 5, Sylvester Stallone.
Peter Finch in Network.
So when Mark Rylance beat Sylvester Stallone in early 2016 in the Best Supporting Actor category, Stallone gives a pretty gracious reaction. He's not upset. I'm sure he was disappointed to not finally win an Oscar for playing Rocky Balboa, but boy, back in the 1970s, he showed not only his disappointment, I would say, but also his complete insincerity toward a winner who was no longer with us. In early 1977, Stallone was nominated in Best Actor for Rocky, and that movie went on to win Best Picture and Best Director. Stallone was definitely near the top of contention, but the winner instead turned out to be Peter Finch for his all-timer performance in Network. Sadly, Finch had died a few weeks before the Oscars ceremony, and so his wife accepted the trophy on his behalf. But when Peter Finch's name is called, look closely at Sylvester Stallone, and he has this look of like, really? Really? I lost to a dead guy? That's what he seems to be thinking in that expression. I feel like he was expecting to win Best Actor for Rocky, and his reaction here is memorable to be sure, but also kind of tacky. Number 4, Lady Gaga.
Olivia Colman.
So when Olivia Colman surprised in Best Actress at the Oscars in early 2019, we got a bouquet of amazing, memorable Oscar reaction losing faces. In the last video, I talked about Glenn Close, and her reaction is fabulous. It's not anger, really. It's like a, really? Again? Like you snubbed me again? But the other 3 losing faces are fantastic too, especially I would say Melissa McCarthy, who like comes out of her seat. That is a great reaction, but there's truly nothing like Lady Gaga, who was expecting to hear the name Glenn Close read. And so when you look at her face when Olivia Colman's name is announced, Lady Gaga is totally stunned. Like she doesn't move for a second, and she takes like a deep breath and starts clapping before it cuts to Colman. Some people have read this expression from Gaga like she's disappointed she didn't win. I don't believe that. I just think she was surprised that the winner wasn't Glenn Close. Number 3, Diane Warren.
Billie Eilish.
You knew I had to get to Diane Warren here eventually. Like, she has been nominated at the Oscars for Best Original Song 15 times, and she still has never won. And so it does make sense. At this point, she is getting irritated to keep losing every single year. And one of my favorite Oscar losing reaction faces has to be Warren in early 2022 when she was nominated for the mostly forgotten drama 4 Good Days and lost to Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell for No Time to Die, which most people, I would say, expected to win that year in Best Original Song. But when you look at Diane Warren in that moment, she looks like she's going to kill somebody. She looks so pissed off. She does not look happy for the winners in the least. And in the next shot, you can see her on the left side of the frame for a while. She is not clapping. She is not happy. She is mad as hell for losing again. Number 2, Lauren Bacall.
Juliette Binoche in The English Patient.
So I've talked about this Best Supporting Actress race a lot on the channel throughout the years, but somehow I forgot to mention it in the first Oscar losing reactions video. Kind of like with Olivia Colman, there are some wonderful Oscar losing reaction faces when the winner in early '97 at the Oscars is announced not as the frontrunner, Lauren Bacall for The Mirror Has Two Faces, who everybody thought was going to win that night, but instead Juliette Binoche for The English Patient, that year's Best Picture winner. Joan Allen looks surprised, so does Marianne Jean-Baptiste. Barbara Hershey is like, what the hell did he just say? And then there's Lauren Bacall herself, who just looks, for a moment, so confused. Like, what? Wait, is that, no, not me? And then you see her slowly start to smile and clap before the camera cuts completely to Juliette Binoche. But clearly Bacall was stunned because she had won at Golden Globes and Critics' Choice and SAG and very much was the favorite to win the Oscar. Like, she was a legend. Her career went back to the 1940s. This was a moment to reward Lauren Bacall with an Academy Award, and Juliette Binoche won instead. This was a very shocking and memorable Oscar victory, and most definitely a memorable Oscar losing reaction from Lauren Bacall. Now, before I get to my number 1 choice, a few more runners up. Carrie Condon in early 2023, we all remember Angela Bassett, like that death stare after the name Jamie Lee Curtis was read. But Carrie Condon, who was up that night for the Banshees of Inisherin, also gives kind of a subdued, annoyed expression. Denzel Washington definitely had a shot to win Best Actor for Fences, but he lost to Casey Affleck for Manchester by the Sea. And like, he claps when Affleck's name is called, but when it cuts back to him a few moments later, he looks so pissed off. He's just like, get me out of here. And speaking of Washington, Russell Crowe's kind of smirk when Washington wins Best Actor for Training Day is very memorable. Crowe's like, okay, fine, I probably shouldn't have punched that guy at BAFTA. Tom Hulce looks so happy to see his Amadeus co-star F. Murray Abraham win Best Actor in early 1985. Same with Anne Hathaway, who is so thrilled for Kate Winslet to finally win her Oscar for The Reader. I don't know about you, but I love a genuine expression of enthusiasm from the Oscar losers. We get it here and there, but probably my favorite example of someone being overcome with excitement to lose the Oscar to someone else is my number 1 choice, Meryl Streep.
The winner is Cher in Moonstruck.
Meryl Streep's reaction in early 1988 to losing the Best Actress Oscar to Cher is easily one of my favorites in Academy Awards history. I mean, we have gotten tons of great Oscar reaction losing faces from Meryl Streep throughout the decades. I like how she turns her head toward Frances McDormand before McDormand's name is even called from the presenters. I love her enthusiasm when Geraldine Page wins. She's clapping right away and getting up on her feet. But there is nothing like the intense enthusiasm Meryl Streep showed when Paul Newman announced Cher as the Best Actress Oscar winner for Moonstruck. Streep immediately jumps to her feet, clapping, cheering for her friend, who she had worked with a few years prior in Silkwood, and it's such a beautiful expression of love and admiration. I mean, it did help, I would say, that Streep had no shot in hell of winning that night for Ironweed, and she had already won 2 Oscars. There wasn't a need, especially at the end of the 80s, for her to win a 3rd. So she was clearly rooting for Cher to win that night, and when she did, she went totally berserk in the best way possible. I love this moment in the history of the Academy Awards. It is, for this video anyway, my choice for the #1 Oscar losing reaction.